Charles Carter said, "It is inconceivable to us that, as American citizens of the late 20th century, we would be treated in this manner by officers of the law on the day of our 40th wedding anniversary. But for anyone who has lived through the last few years, it is unfortunately not so hard to imagine. To the contrary, it is difficult to miss the fact that something is seriously amiss with policing in the United States. Policing is just one function of government, and yet it is special. Policing officials are granted remarkable powers. They are allowed to use force on us, and to conduct surveillance on us. This is true not just of the police, the folks you see in uniform on patrol, but of all those who work hard every day to keep us safe, from the FBI to the analysts at the NSA. Possession of these powers, of force and surveillance, is what defines policing, what sets it apart. Officials are granted these powers because policing is vital. Society cannot function in the absence of basic order. But the constant risk we face is that power of this awesome nature will be misused, as it has been. In June 2013, the nation learned, courtesy of Edward Snowden, that for many years the federal government had surreptitiously gathered up the phone, email, and internet transaction records of as many Americans as it could. Just 2 months later, a federal judge found that the NYPD had violated the rights of potentially hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers with its aggressive stop, question, and frisk policy. Some 8 months later, in April 2014, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department made headlines by deciding, without telling anyone until they got caught, to conduct aerial surveillance of an entire city, Compton, California. Then, in the summer of 2014, the issue of policing exploded in the national consciousness, etched there by the video of one African American after another, often unarmed, dying at the hands of the police. From street protests over the shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, where the nation also witnessed a highly militarized police force training weapons on the civilian population, to Eric Garner being choked to death by a police officer on a Staten Island street while gasping, "I can't breathe," to a North Charleston officer slaying a fleeing Walter Scott by shooting him in the back repeatedly, to a police officer in Chicago firing at Laquan McDonald 16 times in fewer seconds, even after he was down, and then officials hiding the truth about it for over a year. It's fair to say the bloom had come off the rose. Scarcely a week would pass without some new revelation of policing gone awry. In a particularly horrific week in July 2016, the nation watched a live stream on Facebook of the aftermath of police shooting an African-American man in Minnesota, a cell phone video of another such shooting in Baton Rouge, and then shocking footage out of Dallas where a lunatic, claiming retaliation, gunned down 5 police officers who were guarding a peaceful protest. What for so many years managed to escape unnoticed has now fully captured the country's consciousness. It has spawned popular movements such as Black Lives Matter and Million Hoodies for Justice, congressional hearings, special investigations, town halls all over the country, and a presidential task force on 21st century policing. The fact that the misuse of policing power, from the beat cop to the NSA, has been in the news almost non-stop for the last 3 years, suggests something must be done. What may be more difficult to grasp is that all of this is still but the tip of a very large iceberg. Looking below the surface. Physics tells us that 90% of an iceberg is below the water's surface. It's a lot harder to say how much of what goes on with policing is obscured from view. It is difficult to get firm data, or often any data at all. After the shooting in Ferguson, FBI Director James Comey asked his staff a seemingly simple question. How many people shot by police were African American? They could not answer. Despite the country's vast administrative machinery, you can't learn how often police discharge their weapons, or how frequently, where, and against whom force is used. Part of the difficulty, to be sure, is antiquated record-keeping and the sheer volume of the task. But let's face it, a good deal of the problem is that many officials prefer that policing occur outside the public eye.